You want to be unstoppable. But first you must understand why you are so easily stopped. You hesitate because you still believe the world plays by rules. You still think your goodness will be rewarded, your patience admired, your kindness remembered. But let me tell you something you were never meant to hear. The world is not ruled by virtue. It is ruled by force, by cunning, and by control. Those who rise are not the most moral. They are the most prepared to do what others refuse. You are tired because you've spent your life trying to win a game that was never designed for your kind to win. You chase approval, not leverage. You seek love, not fear. You try to be understood instead of learning to be obeyed. And the truth is harsh. As long as you beg to be seen, you will never be felt. Power does not come to those who ask nicely. It comes to those who understand that perception is a weapon and silence is a strategy. You've been told to be humble, to shrink yourself, to wait your turn. But humility without power is not virtue. It is submission. You think you are being noble, but you are being farmed. You've been trained to feel guilt for wanting more, shame for having ambition, fear for acting alone. That fear is not natural. It was placed in you, carefully, systematically, because a man who fears his own instincts is easy to herd. You are not weak by nature. You are weak by design. Every instinct in you that once screamed for domination, conquest, survival, it has been drugged by soft lies and moral illusions. But those instincts still live, buried, suffocated beneath layers of approval-seeking, of apologizing, of needing to be liked. It is time to exhume them, because no one will give you permission to rise, and that is the first test. If you need permission, you are not yet ready to rule. The masses love to speak of fairness, but fairness is the language of the powerless. Those who rule do not speak it. They speak only of control. You will notice that those who cry for equality never give up their own advantages. They merely demand that others do. That is the nature of hypocrisy in weak men. They moralize to slow you down, to shame your strength, to confuse your clarity. Every time you hesitate to make a move because it might hurt someone's feelings, remember, they do not hesitate to hurt yours when it suits them. Understand this deeply. Men are not good. They are obedient. They are dangerous. They are self-interested. The sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you can begin to command it. Stop judging people by their intentions. Judge them by their leverage. Stop asking what they think of you. Ask what they fear losing if they betray you. That is real power, not admiration, but consequences. You must become the man who cannot be manipulated. And to do that, you must first kill the part of yourself that craves comfort more than control, that craves being liked more than being feared. People love a harmless man until he becomes useless, but they fear a dangerous one, and that fear keeps them in line. This does not mean you must be cruel, but you must be willing to be. The lion does not apologize to the sheep, he simply eats, and the sheep, if they are wise, move out of the way. You keep trying to be the exception, the good man who wins without ever threatening, who ascends without ever resisting, who is rewarded for being soft. But that man does not exist. He is a fable, a useful myth told by rulers to keep potential threats asleep. If you want to win, you must become dangerous, and danger begins with emotional control. If your enemy can predict your reactions, he owns you. If he can trigger you, he guides you. If he can guilt you, he governs you. Look at the world around you. The strong pretend to be weak, and the weak pretend to be righteous. It is a theater of false virtues and hidden weapons. The truly powerful do not shout. They do not explain. They move in silence and act through others. They smile with daggers behind their teeth. They never speak their full mind because mystery is leverage, and they never act until they are certain that the move will change everything. You must learn to play that game. You must stop oversharing, stop justifying, stop announcing your every move like a child needing praise. Start observing, start testing, start placing pressure in quiet places to see who cracks. Because your power will not come from being loud. It will come from being unpredictable. And to become unpredictable, you must become unreadable. Your emotions must no longer be public property. Your plans must no longer be transparent. Your dreams must no longer be negotiable. People often ask, how do I become powerful? The answer is brutal. By becoming feared, respected, and needed more than you are liked. If people can live without you, they will. If people do not fear losing you, they will betray you. If they think you cannot retaliate, they will attack. And if they believe your forgiveness is guaranteed, they will sin freely. Do not make yourself easy to wrong. Let them see that the cost of disrespect is exile. Let them feel that betrayal is a door that locks permanently. This is not pettiness, this is architecture. You are building a fortress of psychological dominance, a mind that cannot be toyed with, a presence that shifts the room. You will know you are becoming that man when people begin to choose their words more carefully around you, when they hesitate before lying, when they realize that your silence is not passivity, it is pressure. Because once they feel that pressure, they start adjusting their behavior, not out of love, but out of survival. And that is when you begin to rule, not from a throne, but from the space you occupy in their minds. Most men never reach that point, because most men still seek approval from those they should be dominating. They confuse being agreeable with being virtuous, not realizing that agreeability is often just the fear of rejection in disguise. You must bury that need, rip it out of your psychology like a rotten root. Approval will always be a leash. So long as you seek it, someone else holds the chain. And worse, the more you beg for validation, the more they resent you. Why? Because desperation is repulsive. Because people instinctively distrust those who need too much from them. They may smile at you, nod politely, but inside, they mark you as prey. And every time you offer kindness without boundaries, every time you forgive too quickly, you are training them to see your softness as their opportunity. They will not stop. They will not grow. They will escalate. And the man who tolerates it becomes the man who is destroyed by it. You must instead become the one who tolerates nothing, who makes correction look like consequence, who lets silence echo longer than words. Because silence unnerves the guilty. It makes them wonder. It makes them unravel. And in a world where most people are too afraid to confront, your restraint becomes a weapon. They expect rage. Give them distance. They expect explanation. Give them nothing. Do not defend yourself to liars. Do not debate with fools. Do not explain your standards to those who violate them. They are not confused. They are testing you. And every time you respond with softness, you lose structure. You lose shape. You lose the cold edge that protects your future from corrosion. This is why emotional detachment is not weakness. It is war preparation. You cannot build an empire while being emotionally entangled with those who benefit from your stagnation. You cannot become powerful while still seeking peace with people who are threatened by your rise. They don't want you to evolve. Your strength indicts their weakness. Your clarity threatens their manipulation. Your ambition reveals their complacency. And so they will try to keep you where they can reach you, emotionally, mentally, strategically. They will use nostalgia, guilt, shared memories, fake loyalty, even your own empathy. They will twist everything sacred to make you feel immoral for walking away. But walk anyway, leave anyway, rise anyway, because loyalty to stagnation is treason to your future, and nothing is more dangerous to your growth than the people who loved you at your weakest. Let them say you changed. That's the goal. That's the evidence. That's the warning. A man who has not been accused of becoming cold has not yet become clear. A man who has not been called ruthless has not yet enforced his worth. You will be called names. Let them speak. Their fear is loud because your silence is working. Do not argue. Power is not explained. It is felt. If they need you to prove it, they are already beneath you. Let your boundaries speak. Let your absence speak. Let your upgrade speak. Stop telling them who you are. Show them by what you no longer tolerate, by what you refuse to explain, by how little of you they now have access to. Power is not in presence, it is in restriction, and you will know you have reached it when the same people who mocked your softness now accuse you of being dangerous. That is the pivot point, the threshold, the transformation from servant to sovereign. But there is still one part of you that resists. It still wants to be understood. It still wants to prove you're a good person. That part of you must die. Because power is never achieved by proving your goodness. It is achieved by proving your boundaries. And boundaries do not require moral explanations. They require enforcement. People respect what costs them. If your time, your energy, your attention are cheap, so is your presence. You must become expensive. Spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. Not because you are cruel, but because you are rare. Scarcity increases value, and you will only become scarce once you realize how much you have wasted trying to save people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Let them go. They were never yours. They were only attached to the version of you that needed saving. The moment you became your own rescuer, they lost their position, and they know it. Understand this. Transformation threatens dependency. When you grow, they can no longer anchor their comfort to your compliance, and they hate you for that. You were useful when you were broken, because broken people are predictable. You were safe when you needed them, because they could always feel superior. But when you rise, you become their mirror, and they cannot look at you without seeing everything they refuse to become. So they will try to frame you as arrogant, selfish, inauthentic. Let them. They are not describing you. They are confessing their own failure. Their words are projections, not prophecies. And if you react, they win. But if you withdraw, you ascend. Every silence is a staircase. Every act of restraint builds the architecture of the empire you are becoming. Because a man who does not react cannot be redirected. You want to be unstoppable? Then stop looking back. The version of you that failed was built on permission. The version of you that wins is built on self-command. No more begging, no more waiting, no more explaining. From this point forward, your power is not open for discussion. It is declared in your energy, protected by your distance, and enforced through your detachment. They will either rise with you or be left behind as a memory of everything you outgrew. And now you must ask yourself the only question that matters. Who are you without your leash? Without your need to be approved, forgiven, understood? That version of you, the one not shaped by fear, is the most dangerous man in any room, because he does not ask. He decides. He does not justify. He enforces. He is not swayed by emotion, nor slowed by sentiment. He moves like a blade, silent, precise, intentional. And when he strikes, it is never out of rage, but of reason. You are not meant to live in reaction. You are meant to create reactions, to shape your world by force of presence and clarity of mind. But first, you must detach from the noise, from the expectations of the herd, from the whimpers of the weak who disguise their envy as advice. They will tell you to slow down, to be more gentle, to stay grounded. But you were not born to crawl. You were built to conquer. And the moment you internalize that, their voices will fade because you will no longer seek their permission to move. Your instincts have been dormant, not dead. The animal in you, the strategist, the commander, the predator, it is still there, but it has been buried beneath years of guilt and programmed obedience. You were trained to hesitate, to question yourself, to defer. Every time you paused to seek advice from someone less capable, you dulled your own weapon. Every time you sought comfort instead of conquest, you lost territory. You do not need more knowledge. You need fewer doubts. The world is not complicated. It is merely infested with cowards who pretend to be wise. They will flood you with noise, distract you with endless paths, confuse you with hollow philosophies. Because as long as you're searching, you are not building. As long as you're doubting, you are not advancing. And as long as you're confused, they remain safe. But the moment you move with certainty, they feel the ground shift, and that is when the war truly begins. This war is not fought with weapons. It is fought with decisions, with the cold consistency of a man who no longer needs to explain himself. The truly dangerous man is not the loud one. He is the one who sees everything, says nothing, and waits. He waits until the moment of maximum impact. He lets others burn their energy in noise and movement. He watches, learns, calculates, and then he strikes with finality. That is the man you must become. Not reactive, strategic, not visible, unreadable, not emotional, precise. Because the moment they can predict you, they can control you. And the moment they can label you, they can dismiss you. That is why you must never be fully known, never be fully accessible. Be like smoke, present but untouchable. Let your power be felt, not explained. Let your presence unsettle, not entertain. Because mystery creates fear, and fear is far more stable than love. Stop trying to be liked. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be remembered, respected, feared when necessary. Love is fragile. It bends. It compromises. But fear, when wielded with control, creates order. It maintains boundaries. It protects empires. And yet, you've been taught to avoid it, to be soft, to yield, to blend. That was never wisdom. That was social anesthesia, used to neuter potential threats before they awakened. But now you are awake, and that makes you dangerous. Use that. Do not let it scare you. Let it sharpen you. because the man who does not fear being feared is the man who cannot be manipulated by the moral illusions of the herd. You do not need their understanding, you need their silence, you need their caution, you need their hesitation before they cross you. That is not evil, it is architecture, and architecture demands structure, not sympathy. And as you rise, the weak will gather. Not to congratulate you, but to stop you. They will disguise themselves as friends, advisors, supporters. They will use your past against you, your old wounds, your regrets. They will whisper doubts when they see your clarity harden. They will smile while softening your edges. But understand this, most betrayal does not come from enemies. It comes from those you allowed to stand too close. You must now become ruthless with access. Audit your circle with surgical precision. Who adds weight? Who adds chaos? Who makes you question yourself? Remove them, not with drama, not with revenge, just distance. Quiet, firm, irreversible distance. Because your destiny cannot be negotiated with the opinions of the uncommitted. You are not building a democracy. You are establishing a monarchy, one ruled by vision, discipline, and law. And in that kingdom, weakness is treason. This is how you become unstoppable. Not by screaming louder, but by needing less. Needing less from others. Needing less validation. Needing less company. The less you need, the more control you gain. Dependency is the leash of the powerful. It keeps kings begging and lions leashed. But independence, that is the true throne. When you can walk away from anything, you become immune. When you can rebuild from nothing, you become immortal. And when you no longer need anyone to believe in you, only then will they begin to. Because power is not given to the needy, it is surrendered to the one who no longer seeks it. And yet, there is one final enemy. Not them, you. The weaker version of you that still lingers in the corners of your mind. The one that flinches when challenged. The one that over-explains, over-apologizes, overcompensates. He was born from survival, but he cannot survive your future. That version of you was shaped by fear, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being alone. He exists to keep you small, and every time you let him speak, he sabotages you. He reminds you of your past mistakes, hoping you'll forget your present power. He whispers caution when boldness is required. He asks what if, when you should be asking why not. And as long as you entertain his voice, you will stay trapped in the cage you were born to break. That part of you must be silenced, not with hatred, but with clarity, not with rage, but with leadership. He is not your enemy, he is your creation, but you must now outgrow him. There will be grief in this process. You are not just leaving people behind, you are leaving versions of yourself behind. Versions that were loyal to pain. Versions that were addicted to validation. Versions that mistook survival for identity. And their voices will echo as you rise. They will beg you to slow down, to go back, to be safe. Do not listen. Comfort is the death of kings. Nostalgia is the last weapon of the past. And sentimentality is the leash used to drag strong men back into softness. You must learn to feel without obeying, to grieve without returning, to remember without reviving. Because power is not only about control of others, it is about control of self. Your greatest weapon will not be your voice, but your silence. Not your movement, but your stillness. Not your need, but your refusal to need. That is how you create gravity. That is how the world begins to revolve around you, not because you demanded it, but because you detached from it. Every room you walk into must now bend to your presence, not because you shout, but because you don't. There is something terrifying about a man who says little, listens carefully, and acts only once. That man is felt before he is heard. That man owns the atmosphere. You must become that, not by imitation, but by excavation. Strip away the noise, kill your distractions, mute your dependence, and build a mind so focused that anything not aligned with your vision dies in your silence. You are not here to chase influence. You are here to radiate it. You are not here to impress the crowd. You are here to unsettle it. And you do that not by being loud, but by being clear about your standards, about your path, about your non-negotiables. People will either align or vanish. Let them. You are not running a rescue mission. You are building an empire, and empires are not built by consensus. They are built by conquest. Stop measuring your progress by how comfortable you feel. Start measuring it by how many comfort-addicted people fall away from your life. That is the price of power. Solitude, suspicion, and self-reliance. But what you gain in return is priceless. You gain time, you gain clarity, you gain command, because when you are no longer distracted by weak alliances, your steps become precise. You move like a king, alone when needed, surrounded only by strength, immune to noise. That is when your enemies grow silent, not because they have changed, but because they sense they can no longer reach you. That is when your old friends grow distant, not because you betrayed them, but because you exposed their stagnation. That is when your former self dies, not because you hated him, but because you outgrew his function. This is the ritual of power. It requires sacrifice, and the first to go must always be comfort. You cannot be comfortable and feared. You cannot be comfortable and respected. You cannot be comfortable and free. Freedom requires vigilance. It requires discipline. It requires discomfort, so sustained that it becomes your new normal. Every great man you admire bleeds for what he owns. Not publicly, not loudly, but daily, privately, ruthlessly. He sacrifices ease for excellence. He sacrifices pleasure for positioning. He sacrifices everything that numbs his edge, because he understands that comfort is the enemy of strategy. And a man without strategy is just another pawn on someone else's board. But a man with strategy, a man who can delay gratification, observe silently, and execute relentlessly, that man is not just free, he is untouchable. He bends the world without being bent by it. He commands without raising his voice. He walks through chaos with stillness, and that stillness is what terrifies the world the most. Because in that stillness, there is no confusion, no doubt, no weakness, just presence, just weight, just consequence. You must become the man who is not questioned, because the answer is already clear in your posture, your pace, your presence. You are no longer here to react. You are here to dictate, not with tyranny, but with precision, not with noise, but with law, your law. And your law is simple. Anything that weakens me must die. Any thought, any habit, any alliance, any behavior. No exceptions. That is the price of becoming unstoppable. The willingness to subtract everything that dilutes your dominance. And once you begin this process, you will notice something strange. Life gets quieter, calmer, heavier. But within that weight, there is peace. Not the peace of surrender, the peace of control. The peace of a man who knows exactly who he is and what he is about to do. And what you are about to do is no longer up for discussion. It is a decision etched in silence, reinforced by action, and executed without negotiation. Because at this level, you no longer announce. You no longer convince. You simply move. And your movement, calculated, unapologetic, absolute, becomes the sermon, the statement, the strike. Weak men debate strategy, while strong men become it. Weak men argue about morality, while powerful men bend it. Weak men ask for the world to understand them, but powerful men make the world adjust to them. You are not here to explain, you are here to enforce. And the longer you stay in enforcement, the more your past becomes irrelevant. Not because it disappears, but because you outgrow its influence. The man you are no longer fits into the rooms you are entering, and so you must stop shrinking to match memories. Start expanding to match your vision. Understand, your past was necessary, but it is not your identity. It was a crucible, not a compass. Its only value is the strength it forged, the pain it taught, the instincts it sharpened. You are not a survivor, you are a strategist now. And strategists don't dwell on what happened, they calculate what's possible. They don't lament what was lost, they weaponize what remains. That shift is everything. Because victims wait for permission, but tacticians create positions. They scan every betrayal, every delay, every hardship for leverage, and they extract power from it. That's what you must do now. Use every wound as insight, every failure as correction, every rejection as redirection, not emotionally, strategically, because emotion is a tool, not a compass. Feel, yes, but never let it cloud the move. Let it fuel the move. Let it whisper reminders while you operate in pure precision, because at this level, precision is your god. You will notice the world begins to respond differently. Not immediately, but inevitably, because power is not loud, it's gravitational. People will begin to speak more carefully around you. They'll hesitate before crossing lines. They'll test you less or more, but only once. Why? Because you've become consistent. You've become predictable in your standards and unpredictable in your retaliation, and that combination terrifies them. Most people are chaotic, emotional, unclear, avoidant. When they meet clarity and discipline, they shrink, because your stillness confronts their noise. Your refusal to chase confronts their addiction to attention. Your boundaries confront their manipulation, and when they realize they cannot move you, they begin to orbit you. That is the unspoken law of hierarchy. The one who needs least commands most. You are now becoming that man. The one whose name changes the air when mentioned. The one whose absence stings more than his presence ever begged. But be warned, the higher you rise, the more they will come. Not all in opposition, some in admiration, some in disguise. Some will try to attach themselves to your aura, hoping your glow makes their shadow look smaller. They will mimic your phrases, your tone, your posture, but they will not bleed for the results. They want your crown without your crucifixion. And that is your job now, to guard the gates. Not just of your kingdom, but of your attention, your energy, your time. Not everyone deserves to be near the fire. Some only come to steal the heat. And if you are not vigilant, they will drain you dry under the illusion of loyalty. Remember, loyalty without alignment is a liability, and proximity without contribution is theft. Audit relentlessly, cut efficiently, reward privately, and punish once with finality. Not to be cruel, but to be clean, because ambiguity breeds treason, and in your empire, confusion is a crime. This is where your true training begins. Not in rising, but in ruling. Can you sustain power without needing applause? Can you lead without addiction to praise? Can you dominate without explaining your dominance? Because if you still crave validation, you are vulnerable. If you still need followers to feel like a leader, you are a puppet. But if you can sit in silence, misunderstood, doubted, uncelebrated, and still move with the weight of a man who knows, then you are no longer climbing, you are reigning. And in that reign, there is only one law: protect the frame. The frame is not your image, it's your internal structure. The rules you enforce without compromise, the energy you emit without effort, the presence that requires no performance. When you protect that frame, you become immortal in the minds of others, because they cannot imagine a world where you break. You've become architecture, unshakable, unforgiving, undeniable. And yet, you must always remember, the throne is not the goal. The throne is the tool. The goal is the kingdom. And the kingdom is not just wealth or reputation. It is influence, legacy, command. It is shaping the minds of men without touching them. It is changing the direction of rooms without speaking. It is planting fear in your enemies without raising a hand. And it is creating sons, not of blood but of discipline. Sons of mindset, sons of mission. Men who move like kings because you once showed them how to walk in silence. That is your final role. Not just to dominate, but to duplicate. Not just to win, but to create winners. And not just to escape weakness, but to leave behind a world stronger than the one you rose from. And so now, you are faced with the final threshold. The death of the man who needed the world, and the birth of the man the world now needs. You have shed softness, you have silenced hesitation, and you have slaughtered the part of yourself that begged for ease. What remains is not a version of you. It is the original, unmasked, undiluted, unapologetic. You are no longer reacting to life. You are constructing it, shaping it, bending it. You are now the architect of tension, the engineer of fear, the embodiment of law. Your movements are no longer impulses, they are decrees. Your words no longer seek understanding, they deliver sentence. You do not walk into rooms hoping to be accepted. You enter to assess who is useful, who is weak, who must be watched, who must be removed. This is the psychology of rulers. Cold, perhaps, but clarity always is. You are not obligated to be warm. You are obligated to win, to expand, to conquer territory. Mental, spiritual, political. Every inch of power you give away to avoid discomfort becomes someone else's weapon against you. Every compromise you make to maintain peace becomes a bullet in their next betrayal. So stop hoping to be remembered fondly. Be remembered effectively. Be remembered as the one who changed the terms of engagement. As the man who gave nothing for free, not time, not energy, not emotion. As the one who walked away not because he was angry, but because he was done. And when they try to bait you back with shame, silence them with distance. When they plead for a second chance, remind them this was never a democracy. Your forgiveness was not earned, it was assumed. That assumption cost them access, and that is how boundaries become legend. Let your name evolve into a warning, not through violence but through absence. Let them remember what it felt like to underestimate you. Let them feel your success as a slow burn in their gut. Let them see your silence as a symbol, not of surrender, but of sovereignty. Because kings do not explain, kings do not apologize, kings do not chase, they command, with their posture, with their discipline, with their refusal to negotiate with weakness. And you, yes, you are now that king. You no longer wait to be chosen, you choose. You no longer wait for opportunity, you impose it. You no longer fantasize about peace, you manufacture it through domination. Because real peace, lasting peace, is not the absence of conflict. It is the absolute certainty that if conflict arises, you will win. But winning is no longer the point. Transcendence is. Not just being at the top, but becoming the standard, the prototype, the origin point of a new species of man. Unbothered, undistracted, unshaken. You do not react to chaos. You redirect it. You do not pray for less opposition. You invite it, because it reveals what others hide. It exposes weakness, and you harvest it, like a war general walking calmly through the battlefield, unfazed by blood, because every scream is data, every betrayal is intel, every failure is refinement. That is how you move now, not with emotion, with analysis, not with noise, with patterns. Because kings do not rage, they calculate. And once the calculation is complete, they move once, and the world changes. Your power is now rooted in what you don't need. You don't need them to understand. You don't need them to come back. You don't need them to clap. You don't need them to love you, because your value no longer fluctuates with their opinion. Your direction no longer shifts with their moods. Your mission no longer bends to fit their comfort. You are complete, and that completeness is what makes you unstoppable. They cannot tempt a man who lacks appetite for weakness. They cannot distract a man who finds silence more addictive than applause. They cannot deceive a man who no longer needs their truth to verify his own. You are that man now, the one they warned about, the one they hoped would stay asleep, the one they hoped would keep doubting. You are no longer asking how to rise. You are deciding who rises with you, and that decision is the final power. So go, without fear, without guilt, without hesitation. You are not the man who survived. You are the man who ascended. And from this moment forward, there is no turning back. Because the man who needed the past is gone. What remains is weaponized clarity, ruthless compassion, strategic silence, and a gaze that says everything words never could. I do not need to be heard. I only need to be obeyed. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you has already shifted. A quiet voice that's no longer asking for permission, but preparing for command. A part of you that knows it's no longer about being liked, accepted, or understood. It's about being aligned. It's about being unshakable, even if it means standing alone. Because real power begins the moment you stop negotiating your worth. So now I ask you, are you ready to be feared, judged, doubted, for finally stepping into your true presence? Are you ready to lose the world, to finally reclaim yourself? If this message struck something deep, if you know it's time, type in the comments, I am done shrinking. Let's see who's really ready to lead. Who's ready to cut the leash and walk forward in silence and precision? And don't stop here. The next video holds everything you weren't supposed to realize. Watch it carefully. I'll meet you there.